Welcome into Locked On 76ers Daily. My name is Marc Farzetta. That right there is Keith Pompey, your Sixers beat reporter for the last damn near 15 years. You might notice something. I am not Kayla Santiago. However, Kayla Santiago is a dear friend of mine. She got a big promotion at her day job, so she's going to be taking up that opportunity. I'll be in with you guys here for Locked On 76ers Daily podcast. For those of you that know me from the Locked On 76ers PostCast, I look forward to the opportunity to not only speak with you, but also Keith about our 10-9-8 76ers. This right here is Locked On 76ers Daily.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today on the program, Keith and I are going to be getting into Ace Bailey, the pros and cons of the 76ers drafting the Rutgers 6'9" swing player with the number 3 overall pick, or what the better thing to do with that pick would be, including possibly trading it away or taking somebody else there to help the 76ers maybe more so in the near future. Before we get started, Keith, I do just want to catch people up on my Sixers takes over recent memory here, just so people know who they're dealing with and where I stand. Because, Keith, you've known me for a long time. We've known each other for a long time. I don't believe in hiding, okay? So I'm going to put it all out there on the table. You tell me if any of this is crazy, okay?
Okay, I'm going to tell you. Go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
I have no doubt that you will be completely honest with me. So just so you know, the person that's going to be sitting in here hosting with Keith is I was pro-process, but I was never a Hinkyite, just so people know where I was with that. I do unfortunately think Joel Embiid is cooked. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near the caliber player that we have seen him play at when you talk about an MVP candidate down the line. Also, Paul George, I think he's going to be at best a role player, unfortunately, going forward, a rather expensive role player. I do really like Jared McCain. I do want Quentin Grimes back. I absolutely love Tyrese Maxey. I think you found a backup center towards the end of last season in Adem Bona, and I think he is going to be Joel Embiid's backup center. I do think they should use the number 3 overall pick to take Ace Bailey out of Rutgers, and possibly, quite possibly, the Sixers, if they do that, just might have done more good for the organization than they did in 3+ years of a total process and a total tank job. Other than that, I'm Italian Polish, Keith, and I love going fishing. Anything that like that sound crazy?
Nah, it doesn't really sound crazy. The only thing that it seems like an oxymoron is that you were you loved the process, but you weren't a Hinkyite.
I supported the process.
You supported the process, but you didn't like Hinky because he was the guy. You know what? It's kind of like saying, I like a Shakespearean movie, but I didn't support Shakespeare. You know what I mean? So, like, to me, that's the one thing. The one thing that I will say, all the other stuff, I kind of agree with you. I think that Paul George in the right situation will do okay. I don't know if Joel Embiid, if we'll ever see Joel be that MVP type player again, right? The one thing is, I think the jury is still out on Adem Bona being a solid backup in the league. And the only reason I'm saying that is I love the energy. I love everything he brings. But I still believe that at 6'8", or I still have questions about him being 6'8", how can he do it every night against taller players? But aside from that, I don't have any arguments with what you said. I actually respect it. It was kind of refreshing because normally, people come on and they're like, they just want to say what the team that doesn't upset the team. You know what I mean? So I appreciate the fact that you kept it 100.
Well, okay. So on that note, then you'll love this. I can't stand Sixers ownership. I don't think I have ever rooted for a franchise to be sold. More so than I want somebody else who, cares more about the city, for instance, and not maybe dragging them through a stadium debate for 2 years, and, someone that's also not going to get pushed around by the commissioner, Adam Silver, who I often refer to as dad. Like, for instance, they're going through the process with Sam Hinkie. Dad calls and says, you better put Jerry Colangelo in there. He's going to run the ship. And now Sam Hinkie's out. Now, on that note, while I mentioned Sam Hinkie again, the whole thing, and I agree, that's a great analogy. Like, I like Shakespeare, but I don't like old English. You know what I mean? Like, that's ridiculous. But I believed in tearing it down to build it back up. What I didn't believe in is like an unlimited amount of time to do it. That's where I think I separate myself from the hardcore Hinkyites that said, no. However, how much time he needs, you give him that time. No, at some point you got to show you can put a team together. Like, I know you can acquire a lot of chips. I know you can, acquire a lot of assets. But when it comes time to actually build a winner, that's a question that unfortunately I don't think we will ever find out when it came to Sam Hinkie.
Exactly. But you know what the crazy part about that is, if you look at what OKC did and what the Sixers did, it's weird because it's the same model. But the difference was they cashed in. Like, now again, they did have Paul George, right? Meaning what the Sixers did when they started the process, they traded Drew Holiday, right? They got rid of Drew Holiday and got assets. Well, what did OKC do? They traded Paul George and they got rid of Westbrook, right? So it got to a point with that being said, it's like, they were able to get SGA. Well, what did the Sixers get back? Were able to get Nerlens Noel, right? And a couple other picks. But then when we look at it, it just seems as if that the Sixers missed on draft picks, where this team got Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams, both Jalen Williams in the same draft, right? They also, Lou Dort. Lou Dort was a 6'4" power forward who was undrafted, and they turned him into a two-way guy, and now he's a first-team all defensive player, right? And then they got a couple other players. So to me, when we look at it, it was the same thing. A multi-year tank, but they just were able to cash in, where we look at it like, okay, Nerlens Noel, Jalil Okafor, and both of that was family. You gotta get that right. And then Dario Saric, right? It was like all these guys, and they just never lived up to the hype, and they got rid of them. Whereas OKC, Sam Presti made some great moves.
And one more thing on that. How many people got handed all those chips for OKC to push to the middle of the table? Was it like several people like the Sixers, or was it one guy?
It was one guy.
Isn't that funny how that worked out? Isn't that funny?
One guy. And look, he's like, did you see him beaming? Like when they went to the
like
Western.
A proud father? Yes.
Look at me. It's like, wow. I mean, dude, it's crazy too, because can you think about this? Jalen Williams is only making $4 million this year. He's going to make $6 million next. And he's like an all-NBA third-teamer, all-star. It's like, it's crazy, dude. It's just crazy how they did it. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. The Sixers had 2 number 1 overall picks. Neither one panned out for a career here in Philadelphia. Obviously, Ben Simmons, a couple of all-star teams. That was pretty good. What a third-team all-NBA. Which, yes, they do have. And then his career has gone in the toilet. Markelle Fultz, obviously, that was a quick ride. That was not great. And Joel Embiid's career has obviously left a lot to be desired. As magical as he can be, as magical as he was, and I am saying was because I believe those days are done as an MVP caliber player, the process obviously not worth it. The process a failure. Now it's about building a new team, which brings us to Ace Bailey. One of the other things I said in my opening remarks there, Keith, was that the Sixers quite possibly, I believe, with Ace Bailey, might do more good for the franchise's future than they did in 3+ years of trying to be the worst team in basketball and get all the assets in and buy expiring contracts and all that. I think with what you have already in Tyrese Maxey, what you're building with Jared McCain, what you could have also with Quentin Grimes. Not that I ever think he's going to be a star, but you need solid role players, and I believe he could be that. And whatever you can get from Embiid, whatever you can get from Paul George, I think Ace Bailey is the perfect guy for right now and to build with for the future. That's where I'm at as far as Ace Bailey goes in the upcoming draft.
I agree 100% with you. And I get it. There's a lot of people who talk about what he can't do, and and how thin he is, and the fact that he's listed as 6'10", but he measured out at 6'7.5", without his shoes on. But to me, when I hear Paul George, for one, and other NBA players rave over this guy, it tells me that, they look at him and say he's the most NBA ready player out there. Not, excuse me, I take that back. Not most NBA. He has the most upside of all the NBA players out there, right? So when you hear that and you're hearing it from them, they're basically just telling you like his game is going to thrive. And I also like the fact that, Paul George has been raving over this guy since February. Whenever he gets a chance to talk about him, he's just glowing with him. And I think that, with Paul George, we talked about him, he's on the decline of his career. Paul George is a great person for anybody who ever been around him. I mean, literally, like, Mark, I'm telling you, you would love him. Like, if you met him, you would like him. I'm just being honest with you. But for him to like say, look, my project is to help this guy develop and be who I think he can be. And then you have him along with Maxey. I think the future could be bright because let's face it, the Sixers aren't in position to win the championship right now based off the stuff you talked about, Embiid being cooked and Paul George being a role player. And we see what all these other teams have right now. I feel like this is a great guy for the 76ers, talking about Ed Spelly, and they can move and they can build on something with him.
I think we both got positive vibes when it comes to Ace Bailey. Coming up, we'll list more of the pros and cons about Ace Bailey, what the Sixers could do with that number 3 overall pick, why it should be Bailey, why it shouldn't, and whether or not a trade could be or should be in the works with that number 3 overall pick. That man's name right there is Keith Pompey. He's been covering the Sixers for damn near 15 years with Philadelphia's Inquirer and Inquirer.com, and also giving you fine content with Locked On 76ers Daily. My name is Marc Farzetta. Kayla Santiago got a big bump at her day job, so unfortunately she won't be joining 76ers Daily podcast anymore. I'm in her seat now, hosting with Keith Pompey, so congratulations to Kayla. Back after this on Locked On 76ers. You guys know about DoorDash and how incredible DoorDash is. Well, the offers keep getting better with DoorDash. For instance, right now, they are offering you something fantastic. When it comes to DoorDash, you can take advantage of the Dash Pass. To unlock this and more exclusive deals all season long, when any player scores 50-plus points in a playoff game, Dash Pass members can grab a free 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the next day with a $20 or more order with promo code WINGSTOP50. That's WINGSTOP50 with Dash Pass. Your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms apply. So NBA fans, you know what time it is? It's playoff season in the NBA. It means big performances and even bigger rewards from DoorDash. They're bringing the heat with a slam dunk deal for Dash Pass members during the 2025 NBA playoff. It's called They Swoosh, You Score. Anytime a player drops 50 or more points in a playoff game, Dash Pass members score a free 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the very next day. Just place an order of $20 or more and use the promo code WINGSTOP50 at checkout, and that combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, and totally free. Offer valid noon to midnight the day after a game. Terms apply. Now, maybe you're watching the NBA playoffs, you're enjoying it. All of a sudden, you see somebody drop 50 points. Think the deal you could get with Wingstop 50 from the incredible people at DoorDash. So again, sign up for Dash Pass to unlock this. More exclusive deals all season long. Plus, player scores 50 or more points in a playoff game. Dash Pass members can grab a 3-piece crispy tender combo from Wingstop the next day with $20 or more on an order. And make sure you use promo code WINGSTOP50. That's Dash Pass, your door-to-door savings, more flavor, more ways to win. Terms apply. We're talking about Ace Bailey. Again, my name is Marc Farzetta, in for Kayla Santiago now. I have been doing the 76ers PostCast for the last 2 seasons. I've been covering Philadelphia sports for damn near 20 years, radio, television, and right here on the digital platform, Locked On 76ers and Locked On Sports Network nationwide. It's an honor to be able to speak with Keith and you when it comes to all things 76ers. We're in the previous break, we were just talking about, or segment rather, we were just talking about Ace Bailey and how we both think he'd be a good fit here in Philadelphia. Do you think, though, Keith, looking at Ace Bailey, he's the best option with the asset, to use a hanky term, that is the number 3 overall pick, or would you trade that pick for somebody who is more ready to win now?
That's a great question. Like if you say Giannis became available, right, and I could get him, then, I think long and hard. Outside of that, I think that, I really like what he can do, right? I do. I like Ace Bailey, and I get the criticism that people have. But I feel like for him right now, it's kind of like he's a forward that you need. That's what they need. They need a forward. The only thing is you're going to have to wait for him a little bit, right? And I get that. And that's why certain people say, hey, I don't know if I'll take him right now just because these other guys talking about VJ Edgecombe or Trey Johnson or guys that you can just probably insert right now and they'll be better products for you.
More NBA ready.
More NBA ready, right? But how many times in the draft or anything where we felt like a guy going into the league was more NBA ready and turns out they weren't, or they had problems, right? So to me, I don't know, man. I think that, in my opinion, he's the best option. He is, because when we talk about his strengths and we hear everybody say stuff, these are people who know the game, and they're raving over the stuff, the shots he can make. And I get it. I get it. Like, you look at how Rutgers was trash and all this other thing, but at the same time, let's be real, they did suck, right? But at the same time, it's like they were trash before they came there, and they got 2 dudes. It wasn't like, it wasn't like they went to Kentucky or somewhere, right?
Right.
So I don't know. To me personally, I feel like he might be the best option. Now, again, I hear people talk about KD and they talk about all these other guys, but I think you still get stuck in that rabbit hole, keep chasing the same dudes over and over again, just bringing different names to it. I think it's time to get somebody that you can build with.
Here's where I make the differentiation with Ace Bailey and then like a franchise-changing player, and people might even talk about how it's a 2-player draft, right? If I had a team like Detroit a couple of years ago when they took Cade Cunningham, I'd take Cade Cunningham. I wouldn't take Ace Bailey. I'm not building a franchise around Ace Bailey. I have someone who I think is the best player available at number 3, most likely, and somebody who's also the most perfect fit, to grow with Tyrese Maxey, to grow with Jared McCain, and however long Quentin Grimes is going to be here. Also, if I trade that pick now, if I'm the Sixers and I trade that pick now, I think that's, at this point, what is it, quadrupling down on Joel Embiid? Like betting that he's going to be the guy to be the center of the universe and also win with him? Or are you going to be betting on the future? That's where I look at Ace Bailey, and that's where I look at the asset of the number 3 overall pick and what it means to the Sixers. If they trade it, then I think they're looking more at it as, we can still win now with what we got. If you draft Ace Bailey, you're talking about starting to open another window. Because, not to be doom and gloom, I think most of us are on the same page here. I think the window's closed with Joel Embiid. I think you can open a new window down the line if you draft Ace Bailey.
Yeah, a great point, because when you look at it, you are 100% correct, because right now the East, I get it, on paper, the Sixers are a legitimate team on paper, but there's a lot of things that has to go right on paper in regards to Joel Embiid's health. And we both know he's had 2 surgeries in the last 14 months, 3 over 9 years on that left knee. Right now, how many surgeries are you going to have on that knee? And then Paul George, the question mark is he shot or was he injured? Right. So there's a lot of unanswered questions. So when you look at it, if everything goes right, everything goes right, then maybe the Sixers can contend. But if it doesn't, they got to position themselves to be good in a couple years, because Cleveland is ahead of them. The Detroit Pistons right now are ahead of them. The Indiana Pacers, the New York Knicks. You know what I mean? There's a lot of teams ahead of the Sixers right now. The Orlando Magic. So with that being said, you are 100% correct. You got to get someone that, yes, is going to work. You feel like he's the best player available, but someone that fits in as well. You have to do that. I mean, Think about it. We go back a couple years ago where Jason Tatum was the most NBA ready, but the Sixers looked at Markelle Fultz because they thought, oh, he could play next to Ben Simmons. And now look at it.
Oh, I mean, the all-time example is obviously Jordan versus Sam Bowie. that's the Oh, we kind of got guys. We were okay there. We'll just take this other guy. Okay. Let me ask you this real quick, while we were rehashing some of the Sixers past there. Are you of the school that Tatum was available, or were you in the school of Brian Colangelo would never have done the deal if he wanted, or Danny Ainge would have never done the deal if it was Jason Tatum that the Sixers were going to take?
Yeah, I'm of the school. He would have never done the deal if Tatum there. Now, real quick, the thing is, we got to understand is Markelle Fultz did work out for the Boston Celtics before he worked out for the Sixers, right? And apparently the owner was there, and the workout was so bad that the owner was like, "No, you're not taking him, are you? You're not taking him." But what happened is Danny Ainge got intel that the Sixers really wanted Markelle. He knew that. And also the intel that the Lakers were going to take, the ball guy, the hometown guy. They had to. So it was set up for him, and the Sixers got played. They got played big time. They got played.
See, you mentioned these teams that have moved past the Sixers. That's what sucks so much about this NBA playoffs, but we'll get into that. It's just the teams that have passed the Sixers, and a lot of them didn't have to go through the 3 years of just being totally dedicated to being terrible at basketball. Yes. Was there a process in OKC? Yes, more or less there was a process in OKC. But we're talking about a 10-win season. We're talking about a 17-win season, an 18-win season, a 19-win season. It was just absolutely atrocious in the process era, obviously. But Ace Bailey, we talked about the pros. What's a con? What is something that you look at Ace Bailey's game and you go, oh, yeah, no, I don't know about that at the NBA level, other than the fact that he's not as NBA ready as some other players?
I think the one thing that is, other than he's not NBA ready, is maybe his shot selection, right? You look at that. Maybe the fact is, can he be on a team right now where he's not the guy, right? Those are questions that you have for him. Some people look at his build like, when you say a guy is 6'10" playing a 3 and playing a 4, that's a big difference of saying he's 6'7" playing a 3 and playing a 4 at 190 pounds or whatever he's listed at, 200 pounds. So those are kind of concerns. And then when you talk about the main thing I see is that he said, other than NBA ready, when you look at the other guys in there, like VJ Edgecombe and Trey Johnson, these are guys that, according to the scouts and everyone, they are more plug and play than he is right now. So if you're the Sixers, you'll say, well, who can help me win a championship right now? And maybe those guys could be better role players that some people, according to the scouts, will say over Ace Bailey at this particular time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm ready to invest again more so in the 76ers future than the 76ers right now. And that might be pessimistic, but that's exactly how I unfortunately see it with the Sixers. And I think most Sixers fans that are being real with themselves kind of see it that way also. They might not want it. Hey, look, I want to be pleasantly surprised. I'd love to see Joel Embiid come out and be like, oh my goodness, this guy can totally compete for an MVP. We're talking about 31, 32 by season's end, a center that's already, as you alluded to earlier, had many surgeries, many issues, and it's always something. If he comes back, Keith, with 100% healthy knee, I'm going to be still waiting for the next thing. When's the next time he breaks his hand on a rim? When's the next time he gets punched in the face and gets a concussion? When's the next time Markelle Fultz's shoulder collides with his face and he's got to wear that mask again when he plays? When's the next time? Remember this one? This is my favorite. Gastroenteritis with the Jimmy Butler 76ers. When's the next time something else happens with Joel Embiid? That's where I'm at, unfortunately, on all that. So, yeah, I'm all about the future when it comes to Ace Bailey. Coming up after this quick break, we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs right now, where the Sixers would rank if they were 100% healthy. That's after this. You rattled them off earlier, Keith. Teams of the 76ers, unfortunately, have been passed. The 76ers are very much in the rearview mirror right now of the Pacers. They're very much in the rearview mirror of even a team like the Celtics. They're very much in the rearview mirror right now of a team like the Knicks. And the list goes on. The Cavs, you mentioned the Magic. Let me ask you this. If you get a Joel Embiid that is slightly above serviceable, close to all-star, not MVP, but close to all-star. If you get a Paul George in a similar boat to that, and you get Ace Bailey on this squad, how close are the Sixers to even making it out of the first round of the playoffs? How close are they to really, truly competing for an Eastern Conference final at least?
You talking about next year if they had Ace Bailey and all those guys?
All that's together. Joel Embiid's somewhat healthy. He's ready. Put it like this. Joel Embiid's ready to play in the playoffs. Paul George ready to play in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Ace Bailey coming along his rookie year with Tyrese Maxey, and let's put it as Adem Bona, obviously the backup. You have Andre Drummond as the third string center. Quentin Grimes is even coming off the bench or starting with Jared McCain coming off the bench. All that's working out beautifully, and Nick Nurse is a genius.
I think all that is going to basically depend on where they finish at. Like if they can get a top 3 seed, then I'll probably say, yeah, you can get out of the first round. If it's like 4 or lower, I think they'll have a tough chance. And the reason being is because we're talking about like if Joel Embiid is serviceable, right? If you say that, I think the way that this roster is constructed, and I get it, we haven't like reached free agency yet or anything like that. But the way it is, you need Joel Embiid to be a dominant player. And when Joel's a dominant player, then that frees stuff up to Maxey, right? I mean, we're talking about Paul George not being a Paul George of old, but you're looking at him as a role player, so to speak. Well, in order for him to get away with him being a role player, Joel Embiid has to be a dominant player. And when I look at teams like the Orlando Magic, I look at the Knicks, where you have Cat and you have Mitchell Robinson coming off the bench, and you look at those wing defenders they have, and even down to the Cavs. People forget the Cavs have had the Sixers numbers as of late, the last couple of years. I just don't see, if the Sixers don't get a top 3 seed, I think it's going to be hard for them unless Joel Embiid is a dominant force, which you don't think he's ever going to be again. Yeah. I don't see them being a legitimate contender like we think that they were in the past. I mean, think about it. In his prime, they were a second-round team. In his prime.
Yeah. The question is whether or not this Sixers team can rise, because Joel Embiid ain't going anywhere with that money that's attached to him. So can the 76ers now start rebuilding with other people being the leader? Can other people, and I don't mean leader as in rah guy, I mean number one scorer on the team, guy compete for a number one scorer in the NBA. Can they grow around Tyrese Maxey? Can Ace Bailey help take them to the next level in the next couple of years? Can you get guys like that growing and improving in their NBA careers to get them over the hump that, unfortunately, I don't think we'll see with Joel Embiid being the leader of the pack?
Yeah, I agree with you with that one. I mean, because when we look at it, it just hasn't happened. And there's a lot of times, let's keep it 100. Like, everybody says the right stuff. Yeah, I want to be this guy. I want to help and I want to facilitate. But I don't know if he can do that. I mean, I think that his mindset is like he's used to being a guy. And I don't know if they can do that with him right now. I just don't know. I mean, maybe he'll prove me wrong, right? But that's a major question. And then the thing with Tyrese Maxey, it's kind of like, he'll need some help too. Like he needs an additional ball handler, and hopefully that could be Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, Quentin Grimes. But this team just has a lot of questions right now. And when you look at it, they have too many young players that they're going to depend on next year. So I just don't see it. And the problem is it's hard for a person to be a ball dominant player, an MVP, all NBA type of guy to tell that person, okay, now we just want you to defend and pass the rock and be a role player. It just doesn't happen. Yeah, rebounding. Especially when people were complaining for years that he wasn't in the paint. Right. So
right.
Like how are we gonna how is he just gonna change? I don't see it.
I agree. In the very rare occasions that you saw him on the floor last year with Maxey or with Paul George or with Jared McCain, I felt like these guys were sports cars and Joel Embiid was a Mack truck. Like I felt like it was a very different vibe of 76, a very different brand of 76ers basketball. And I think that's a sample of more what the future holds for the Sixers, unfortunately, than what we saw with the Sixers in the past. And look, I'm rooting for Joel Embiid to prove us all wrong, because the fastest way to an NBA title right now is Joel Embiid's healthy and Joel Embiid's dominant. That's the fastest way to the top. I hope that's the case. But a phrase I like to use, Keith, is I love it, I'm rooting for it, but I ain't betting on it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Keith, fun first show, my friend. Look forward to this. We're going to be doing this 5 days a week, cranking out the 76ers content up to the draft, through the offseason, into the regular season. And I will still be doing Locked On 76ers postcast as well. So I'll have a lot of fresh Sixers content as well. Keith, good times, my friend.
Yeah, great talking to you, man. I'm looking forward to working with you, too.
Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing to Locked On 76ers. That's Locked On 76ers daily right here, Locked On 76ers YouTube channel. And also, thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On NBA Big Board. Check out that show where NBA draft expert Rafael Barlow reacts to every workout, interview, rumor leading up to the NBA draft. Find NBA Locked On NBA Big Board on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to Locked On 76ers YouTube channel. Catch you guys later. Bye.